Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Munir sir, good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your audio is little low, sir. We can maybe.
Okay. And now, how is it now? Is it clear? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me now?
No, sir, it is low. But am I clear to you, sir?
Very clear, very clear.
But your audio is coming little low.
Okay. Should I sit closer?
So please try.
How about now? Hello? Hello?
Good morning, children. Can you hear me? You can unmute yourself and talk. Participants, students, those who have joined, if I am audible to you, please unmute yourself and tell.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
It's audible.
It's audible.
Yes, sir. It's audible.
Very good, very good.
Hello.
We'll start the session now. We are behind schedule by
Yes, sir.
6 minutes. But that's fine. It's worth waiting for Dr. Munir Ahmed. We are really fortunate to have his esteemed presence today with KLE. Dr. Munir Ahmed is a man of high value, highly esteemed. He has conducted thousands of online sessions, other practical sessions for grooming of teachers, corporates, students. He's a director at Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Academic and Administrative Training Institute, RATI. So it's really a pleasure, students, to have such a person addressing to you on your inaugural orientation session. Dr. Munir, sir, over to you.
Yeah, good morning all. All of you who have joined for this online session of the KLE inaugurals. At the outset, I must express my gratitude to the management of KLE Academy of Higher Education and in particular to Dr. Ramandang, the principal of KLE College of Pharmacy, and the teachers of KLE College of Pharmacy, Bangalore, for inviting me to this inaugural session and interact with you all, the young generation of pharmacy professionals. My passion is exposing the potential of teachers, as Dr. Raman was telling earlier, in the healthcare professions to develop their capacity and competency as mentors for the new generation. And here I am now speaking to the new generation itself directly. In this session, I'll be speaking something about the strategies of how you can improve yourself as a personality and in turn as a professional. Very briefly as an outline. So let me display a series of photographs to identify. You can see a number of photographs here. These are look to be of some eminent scientists who have achieved something great in their career. Can you identify any of these people? Perhaps.
Alexander Fleming.
Okay, good, very good. Now let me, for the benefit of those who are not identify these people will face, let me show the next slide, and it becomes very evident who these people are. In fact, all of these are the people who have won their Nobel Prize for physiology or medicine through the generations. What set apart these people is that they had passion, they had commitment, they had their dedication, perseverance, and above all, they believed that life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. So this is where the change comes. In fact, if we are thinking only about a career, about ourselves, it may limit us to a particular level. But if we go beyond ourselves and think for the society, think for the outer thing which are there, for the people who are there, then it is easier to achieve. In fact, getting a Nobel Prize is not an easy thing, and it is not difficult also. And in this presentation, my purpose is to outline, as I told you earlier, a strategy that can propel you to achieve your higher aspirations, depending on your capacity, effort, and belief. It is not that everybody will get a chance to win a Nobel Prize, but everybody can make efforts for a noble cause. Now, let me challenge you to decipher this word which I have displayed now. What did you read? Immediately. Maybe
Success is nowhere.
Exactly. Some would have read it as success is nowhere. And some might also have read it as success is now here. It's only the unscrambling of the words, the letters from here, that makes our approach. It's a matter of perception. We see what we want to see. Similarly, we are attracted and driven by our inner inspiration or fear. It's either our aspiration or our fear. And it is for you to decide what you want. You want to aspire or you want to fear. There are some restraining factors for us to achieve something. Before that, let us look at this. You can never cross the ocean unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. If we want to be comfortable in whatever we are, we cannot go beyond that because we are bound by and we are restrained by and we are instilled a fear by losing our comfort zone. If you want to stay in your comfort zone, you stay only in that zone, but it will not be comfort forever. It will become uncomfortable, not very soon. It will become very soon, it will become uncomfortable. Therefore, for those of us who want to achieve something, we should have the courage to let go of something which we are very familiar with, something that we are comfortable with, and something that we are happy with. And this is the situation, this is the turning point in your lives. You have left what was comfortable for you in your 10+2, and now you have joined your new course before, and also for those who have joined for the post-graduation, you have left something which was comfortable for you under the guidance of the teachers, completely driven by their energies. Now you are something of your own. Now, how do you take it as? Is it something that is taken as a challenge, or is it something that is taken as a problem? That depends and that decides how you are going to be successful in future. When we talk of any person, in fact, before you become successful or for you to become successful, the first thing that you have to understand, or the first person that you have to understand, is you. What is you? And what is your aspiration? What is your desire? And what is your nature? Once you understand this, it becomes easier for you to deal with the outer world. Because if I do not know what I am, it becomes difficult for me to deal with others. There are 4 factors which I have identified as most important that can create a good personality. If we are aware of this, sometimes if we overcome this, then we become strong. One is laziness or procrastination. If we go on postponing certain things, like if I have to do something and I'll say, okay, sometime later I'll do, after some time I'll do. It's not early to, it's too early to do now. This is a kind of laziness or procrastination that is an enemy of success. In fact, this I have seen in some of the students who do not perform well in their examinations. What happens with some of these students is that they go on postponing their study, their learning, and their commitment to the syllabus till the end when the exams are announced. They become active when the exams are announced. And what happens here is we have lost a huge valuable time in preparing ourselves as a professional. We only prepare for our exam, and after the exam we forget it. Then what is the professionalism that we have carried with us? Laziness is one of the enemies of success. The second enemy of success is what is called as holding on to our comfort zone. If I am comfortable with something, with my tradition, with my nature, with my surroundings, with whatever that I have, and I say that this is what is correct for me and this is what is working for me, I don't want to look beyond it. If you do not look beyond it, you will not go beyond it. Therefore, the second enemy is to feel comfortable always. Do not feel comfortable. Feel disturbed. Feel disruptive. In fact, if the COVID had not struck, perhaps we would not have experimented with the use of technology as vigorously as we are doing it now. It might have come as a blessing disguise, but it has driven the necessity for us to look for new avenues. And this is breaking from the tradition. We were all comfortable teaching in the classroom, in the laboratories, in the physical atmosphere. Now we are compelled to seek out the alternative atmospheres, to seek out something which we might not have imagined earlier that this is possible. And this happens because we broke from a tradition. So, holding on to a tradition, I'm not talking of tradition in a way that we have your social tradition or your family tradition, not in those sense. That traditionally whatever we hold on to as a kind of comfort. So this is another enemy of success. The third enemy of success is fear. If we are afraid of certain things, if we are afraid of something new, if we are afraid of experimenting with something new, if we are afraid of seeking out something which we are not familiar with, then we do not go anywhere. We are bound by, we are restrained by, and we are constrained by our fears. So overcome fear. Nothing is going to happen. If we fail also, nothing is going to happen. We might fail once, but that failure becomes a stepping stone for our success later. So fear of failure is the enemy of success. If we are scared of failure, we will keep on failing. If we want to say, I do not want to this, for example, if I say I do not want to do this, then what happens is our mind does not carry any negativity. Our mind does not retain negativity. Therefore, that word no drops off. I want to do this, it becomes. I do not want to start my study now. If you say, if you say, I do not want to do something which is uncomfortable for me. I do not want to do something. Then that no becomes disappears, and you will end up doing something which you are afraid of. Therefore, do not say no to anything. speak in a positive language. Do not speak in a negative language. Do not tell anybody, I'm also telling the same thing, or keep telling somebody in a positive language. You can tell, I expect this. Do not say, do not do this. Say, I expect this. So this will take away the fear from you. And the fourth factor, which is the enemy of success, is called as the jealousy or the entitlement or expecting that I am great, which is the ego. Ego is the enemy of success. If you can overcome that ego, and ego comes in various formats, I'll come to that a little later in the session. If you see that, see, I'm entitled for this, then you are building yourself into an island where nobody will come and help you out later. People will say, okay, let that fellow think he is great. Let him do whatever he wants. Let him help himself. So we will not be with the people. There will be nobody to help us if I develop the walls of ego around me. So overcome these four factors that are restraining for your development, for your success. Four factors. Let me tell you a story. As you can see here, this is where this is when the first flight took off. Maybe for about 18 seconds, the Smith brothers, they flew in this coastal town, and that made history. And we all know that the Wright brothers, the Albert Wright and Wilbur Wright, these were the people who are instrumental in developing this flying machine. But before that, there's an interesting story. I would share it in maybe 3-4 minutes. You can see this person who looks very imperious, very dignified. This is Professor Samuel Langley. Professor Samuel Langley was entrusted by the US State Department, in fact the US Defense also, to develop the flying machine or the airplane, early 1900s. And he was a very accomplished scientist. In fact, you can imagine he was the third secretary of the Smithsonian Institute. Smithsonian Institute in the US is a conglomerate of museums and scientific bodies, about 200 of them. And these are spread out all over the US and many other countries, and very high quality scientific body. He was the secretary of that, and he had many patents to his name. He was an astronomer. He was entrusted with the responsibility of developing this flying machine, as they used to call it then. And he was given a grant of $50,000 US in the early 1900s. Imagine $50,000 US. If you calculate for today in our currency, it will be something like 1,130 crore rupees. 1,130 crore rupees was the grant that was given to Professor Langley to this flying machine. And he had the complete government support. But he could not achieve it. What happened later was, these were two brothers. In fact, these two brothers did not even have a college degree. They never went to college. They never went beyond the high school. And they never had any monetary support from any government or any other body. Whatever funding they were having was from their, just listen to this very carefully. The funding for their project to develop a flying machine was coming from a cycle shop that they were having, where they would lend the cycles for people to hire. That was their major source of income. And the people who were in their team, nobody had gone beyond the high school. With this kind of a background, how did these two brothers achieve the impossible feat of developing a flying machine? Is because of their commitment, because of their passion, and because they felt that your life is not important except for the impact it has on other lives. So when you go beyond this selfish feeling, you can achieve greater things. This is where you have to have a self level also. Like you have to have your selfishness also, but that should not be the driving force for everything. There should be a stage where you leave your selfish motto and go beyond to achieve something, even if it is at the cost of sacrificing something that you value much. That sacrificing could be something of your comfort, something of your time, something of your whatever it is. Only then you can achieve something which is really great. Now you can see this person, Mr. Thomas Watson Sr. He was a person who founded IBM. In fact, the first computers came from the IBM stable. He said, to be successful, you have to have your heart into your business and your business in your heart. Very important. If we do not have the interest, if we do not have the passion in what we are doing, or we do not do with passion, you are not going to achieve something. Now, if we have to convert this business into learning, what we could say is that to be successful, you have to have your heart into your learning and your learning in your heart. This is what brings the difference for those who are successful as learners and successful as achievers, successful as professionals. Now, how do we bring about this? There is a kind of theory that your learning is something which is highly personalized. In fact, there is a kind of 70-20-10 classification of learning in the learning and development industry. What they say is 70% of our learning happens on the job. That is when we start doing on our own experiences, our own surroundings, and our own engagement of learning is what brings about 70% of the learning that we do. 20% comes from the informal learning, and I'll come to this a little later. Let us see what is the 10%. 10% comes from the formal learning. That is whatever you learn in your courses, whether BPharm or Inform or any course, whatever you learn purely out of that course of 4 years, 2 years, whatever duration of the course is only 10%. If you do not add anything to that, only the course, whatever the learning happens in your classrooms, you are capable only 10%. And 20% you can add if you interact with your colleagues, with your classmates, or if you interact with your teachers beyond the formal classroom learning. That will add another 20%. So you get something like 30%. The 70% will happen when you start engaging yourself individually and start reflecting on whatever you are learning. This will add up to your 70%. So this 70%, how do you add up during your course itself it's not that after you complete your BPharm, you have to do this. During your BPharm also you can do. During your MPharm also you can do. What you have to do is, you are a full-time learner. So when you say full-time learner, your input for your profession, now learning is your profession. Your input for your profession should be not less than 12 hours. Of that, maybe about 6 hours you spend in your classrooms or in your institutions. The rest of another 6 hours, which you are expected to be putting in, has to be in the form of your self-learning. If you go back out of the college and then you start freaking out, you are losing out on the 70%. Whatever you say is your personalized experience, personalized learning. This is where the successful people are differentiated. You can see the successful people do not simply go out and play out always. You have to play, not that you should not play, you should play. But there should be some kind of a schedule, some kind of timetabling, which includes or which takes into consideration your 12 hours as professional learners each day. Now, how do you personalize it? To make it personalization, there is one theory called as metacognition. The word may sound very high, metacognition, but the meaning is very simple. Metacognition, cognition means knowledge, meta means something which is about, so knowledge about knowledge. What it means is, if you can realize how you learn, if you are aware of your strengths and your weaknesses of learning, that is called as metacognition. If you are aware about yourself, what works for you, what does not work for you more, then you can strategize your time, your energy, your resources in a proper manner. So what is this metacognition? How does it help you to understand? Let me simplify this. In metacognition, there are two components. One is the way knowledge is present. The second is the way we utilize knowledge. So two things. One is what is knowledge or what are the types of knowledge. Second is how do we utilize that knowledge for our learning. So you can, in the types of knowledge, you can say there is something called as declarative knowledge. Declarative knowledge is something which is already there. It is something like a fact. Like for example, today is 9th October 2020. This cannot be disputed. Or for example, if somebody asks what is the chemical formula of a particular substance, you say this is the chemical formula, which is the declarative knowledge. For example, if somebody asks what is the dental formula, like how many teeth a person would have, so that becomes something of a declarative knowledge, unless there is somebody has lost a teeth. Okay, so this becomes declarative knowledge. Declarative knowledge is something which is existing, something which is there as a core body of knowledge. The second type of knowledge is called as procedural knowledge. Procedural knowledge is how do we perform certain things. For example, if you have to set up an equipment, you have to set up the apparatus for doing some experiment. How do you set up that apparatus? You know what are the components of that apparatus? That is the declarative knowledge. What is the procedure for arranging that whole apparatus? That becomes procedural knowledge. Procedure is how do you perform certain things. Declarative knowledge is what is, procedural is how is. Then the third thing that comes to in the form of knowledge is called as conditional knowledge. Conditional knowledge is very important. What it says is, you know what is the declarative knowledge, you know what is the procedural knowledge, when to use and when not to use certain knowledge is called as conditional knowledge. Conditional knowledge will qualify as wisdom. When you know certain things, when to do it or when not to do it, it becomes your wisdom. You do not go and speak everything to everybody always. There are certain areas which you hold back some information thinking that it may not be proper to say this. So this becomes conditional knowledge. So this is called as the knowledge component in cognitive domain, in the metacognition. So there is a knowledge which is a body of knowledge which is there. There is a knowledge which tells you how to perform certain things. And there is a knowledge which tells you when to do certain things and when not to do certain things. These are the types of knowledge. Now, how do you apply this knowledge for yourself? In the application of knowledge, the first phase is called as planning. Now, planning, the meaning of planning is very simple. If you say I have planned, that means you have decided beforehand what to do. Suppose you want to do certain thing now, or you want to do something after 1 hour or half an hour, after 1 year, after 1 month, whenever it is. Before you start doing that, you already decide this is how I will be doing it. You prepare a plan. For example, you want to go to some particular place. This weekend you want to go for a picnic. Suppose you want to go for a picnic this weekend, you do not get up on that morning of that Sunday and say, okay, no, let me go. You can do that, but it might not give you complete success. It may not be successful. There could be some fiasco which happens during that. But on the other hand, if you plan when to go, where to go, how to go, what all to do, then it becomes easier for you to coordinate whatever you wanted to do. So this becomes planning. So planning is something which is that you decide before doing. You may decide it 1 hour before, you may decide it 1 minute before, you may decide it 1 year before, whatever it is, before doing something, you decide something that becomes a plan. So once you make a plan, the next thing is you implement it. As you have implemented, you have to check whether it is working or not. So therefore, monitoring your plan, monitoring whatever you are doing is the next phase to check continuously whether your plan is working or not. Therefore, it becomes easier for you if you have a plan. If there is no plan, what do you monitor? If you do not know where you are going, any place will do. So if you know where you are going, then you can monitor whether I am reaching there. See, I'll come back to how you organize this for your learning. So once you have done monitoring something which is continuously done, as you're performing certain thing, as you're implementing certain thing. So once your monitoring is done, you feel that you have completed that, then you evaluate. Evaluation happens at the end. Monitoring happens during. During your activity, monitoring happens. At the end, evaluation happens. So let me take you to your core activity as a learner. When you are learning under metacognition component, what happens is, you know what is the knowledge that you have to study. You know what are the procedures, what is to be done, what is not to be done. The whole knowledge is there. Then you plan that this is what you want to achieve. At the end of this, say for example, you have some weekly plan, you can have a monthly plan. You have lessons which your teachers give you. You have a timetable, you have a syllabus. This syllabus, this timetable has to be properly organized either for a week as unit or for a month as unit, whichever is comfortable for you. The smaller, the better. So week is always better because you can keep on reviewing it. So you plan for this week. This is the learning that I do at the end of this week. So that at the end of this week, whatever you do is also including at the end of this day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. So all these things are chapped out for each day. That becomes planning. So once you have done, there is no room for your procrastination or laziness because you have to go according to your plan. Once you have done the plan from the beginning of your course, your classes are starting today or tomorrow. From today or tomorrow, you have started your planning. Your plan is there for this week, for this week, for this week. So that plan, when it is there, next thing that what you do is you monitor it. Am I performing according to the plan which you have prepared? Or is there any change? Have I lagged behind? Or what, if you have lagged behind, what is the reason why I am not up to date with the plan? You will know. That's the system. If you have not made a plan, you are not monitoring. You will not know whether you are lagging behind or not. So continuously when you are checking whether I am doing, for example, today I had to do something. Yesterday I had to do something, whether I have done it or not. So this you are monitoring. At the end of the week, what you do is you reflect back and check whether my plan which was there for this week was successful, was complete or not. That is what you evaluate. And when you evaluate, you will get some outcomes. Those outcomes could be that it was done or it was not done. When you are doing the monitoring also, you will get some outcome, whether it is being done or it is not being done. The words are very important. In the monitoring, you will check whether it is being done or it is not being done. When you say whether it is being done or not being done, we have the option to immediately correct it. Immediately we can rectify it. Once the time has passed, we have come to evaluation. We ask whether it was done or it was not done. Then we do not have the time to immediately rectify it. We'll have to postpone it or we have to shift part of it to the next week or the next week. So then what happens is our load of learning will pile up. If we are checking during monitoring whether it is being done or not being done, and we rectify the requirements or the gaps immediately, you will not have any load for the next week. You are completing the entire load for this week itself. So this is called as the metacognition. Now, the importance of metacognition is in the US, I'll tell you some studies which were conducted in the US. In the US, they conducted a study to check what is the impact of metacognition on the high school students. What they did was they took some schools as the experimental schools. In that they classified each of the class into two segments. One segment of students who were told about metacognition, another set of students were not told about metacognition. These students were having similar characteristics, same school, similar nature of teachers, similar infrastructure, similar background, educational background, everything was similar. The only difference was one group knew what is metacognition, another group did not know what is metacognition. And these students were tracked over a period of time. And when the teachers or when the researchers were conducting this in the study, when they looked back into their final scores, they were astonished to see that the students who were in the metacognition group had done exceedingly well as compared to those who were not in the metacognition group. The only difference was the students in the metacognition group knew about themselves. They knew about their strengths, their weaknesses. They had a plan for study. They were monitoring their study, and they were repeatedly evaluating what they were doing and how they were achieving, and pulling back into the course their evaluation results. So they were continuously tracking themselves for their learning. This is metacognition, and this is the importance of metacognition for any success. It is not only for studying in a school or a college. It could be anywhere, any professional. If you are aware, self-aware, and if you are aware of your surroundings, you are successful. Now, to be successful, there is one more factor that has to be remembered. It is how trustworthy you are. Because when you want to achieve something, you need to have trust among other people. You have to trust other people also, and other people also should trust you. Now, how does this trust build? There are two major factors for building the trust. One is a person's character. Second is a person's capacity. These are the two major factors which bring in trust. And it is very simple to develop trust and to bring in trust in a team or in a family or in a society or wherever it is. Now, what character means is, character is a nature of a person. How do we see this person as? Can we see this person as reliable, or somebody whom I can trust, somebody who is safe for me? So this is what is your character. Now, for character again, there are two subcomponents. One is called as integrity. Integrity is what is the honesty of this person, or how much this person is having that integrity. Now, to say integrity, let me give an example. Imagine that we are going in the traffic. We are in the traffic, and suddenly the traffic light signal comes, and in that the signal is it flashes a red light. If we see around, there is nobody around. There is no traffic before or after. There is no policeman also. Traffic policeman also is not there. But the traffic signal is showing a red signal. What do I do? Do I break the traffic signal because nobody is seeing me, or do I stop there? This is where is integrity. Integrity is what we do when nobody is observing us, or when we feel that nobody is observing us. So the kind of honesty which is there, whether somebody is seeing us, somebody is not seeing us, which is something of an internal honesty for us, is integrity. Does the person have integrity? If you know somebody has integrity, yes, we can trust, because this person is having integrity and he will not do something which is bad for anybody. Bad for himself also, herself also, or bad for others also. The first feature of character is, does the person have integrity? The second feature of character is, does the person have intention? What is the intention of this person? Is the intention of this person good or bad? Is it harmful or safe? Is it something which is supportive for others or destructive for others? What is the intention? I might have good integrity, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that everybody who has good integrity will have good intentions. Sometimes some act may not have good intention. It's all possible. So integrity alone is not sufficient. A person who is having good integrity should also have good intention for that particular activity, for that particular situation or context. So that brings in the character. When somebody is having integrity plus good intention, positive intentions, that is character. Character alone is not sufficient for us to trust somebody. Say, for example, if I go to a doctor for some condition, and the doctor is having very good integrity, he will never lie to anybody, he will not harm anybody, good intentions are very good and the best of a person. But if that person doesn't have capacity to treat the disease that I have, can I trust that person? So therefore, capacity is also important. Capacity is to be able to perform something. to have the knowledge and to deliver the results. Now, for capacity, there are again two components. One is called as capability. Capability is, does the person have the knowledge? Does the person have the skill to perform whatever I expect? Suppose I go to a doctor, a surgeon, and the surgeon, does the surgeon have the knowledge to perform? Suppose I have an abscess somewhere here. I want that abscess to be drained. Does this person, this doctor or surgeon, know about this abscess? Does he have or she have the knowledge about this? And does he or she have the skill for doing this? Capability. The next important thing is results. Does the person bring out results? Does the person stick on to see that the outcomes come? I have seen people whose integrity is very good, impeccable, intentions are always good, have the capacity, but they procrastinate or they are lazy. A person who is lazy but who has these other three characters does not have the capacity. I have seen people who keep making plans. I will do this, I will do that, and they have the resources also. They have everything. Like that Samuel Langley who wanted to build an aircraft, but he could not build. What was lacking in that person was not integrity, was not intention, was not capability. It was results. He could not bring result because he did not have this character perhaps for that project. So if somebody is not able to deliver results, you will not trust. That person may be having a lot of knowledge, lot of skill, but if that person is not giving us the results, is not doing my work, how do I trust him? Similarly, if you have to be trusted by others, or if you have to trust others, you have these four as the parameters or the benchmarks for assessing the trustworthiness. In fact, I have taken this is not my own analysis. This is what I have seen in a book called The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey Jr. Stephen Covey Sr. is one who has written the 7 Factors of Success. His son has written this Speed of Success. So he has elaborately explained in that book how do we trust and why trust is important. In fact, trust is very, very important for all of us to succeed and to help others succeed. And successful lifelong learners, and please remember, all of you are going to be lifelong learners. Your learning will not stop at B.Pharm or M.Pharm. It continues beyond. Therefore, you are lifelong learners. Successful lifelong learners believe that attitude is everything, and attitude is the one which shapes whether you can be successful or you cannot be successful. And you will say, I will, I can, and I do, and it's never too late or too soon to learn something. Now, let me give you 7 habits of successful learners. Successful learners begin with the end in the mind. That is what I want to achieve by the end of this week, by the end of this month, by the end of this course. That is where planning comes into the picture. What I discussed earlier about the metacognition. Planning is very important. The second important thing is accept responsibility for your learning. You are the person who is learning. Even if your teacher is teaching, it doesn't mean that you have learned unless you have put in your effort for learning. So it is your responsibility, your learning, your responsibility. This should be the second habit. The third habit is view problems as challenge. Don't think it as a problem. Problem, if we think, we get into crisis. If we take something as a challenge, then we become more energized. When you look at something which is a challenge, you get an energy. When you see something as a problem, the same thing if you see as a problem, then your energy is totally sapped. You lose all your interest, you lose your attitude, and everything is lost. Therefore, do not see something as a problem, see something as a challenge. Oh, whether I can do this, I can do this, I will do it. The fourth habit is have confidence in yourself as being competent and effective learner. Believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you can do. If you believe that you cannot do, you cannot do. If you believe you can do, you can do. So it is a belief that brings about the difference between a person who is a failure and who is a successful person. The fifth habit is create your own learning toolbox, because each person is individual, each person has your personal way of learning. Therefore, what works for one person need not work for other person. You identify what is your strength. This is where your metacognition comes. What is your strength? The way you learn, the way you are comfortable learning. This is something which is very unique for you. So I try to identify what is your uniqueness of learning. There are various ways in which you can identify. Some of these are also available online. Say, for example, there is something called as MBTI personality type, or there could be DISC personality type. You can Google search personality types, and there are some questionnaires, online questionnaires, and these will tell you how you can learn better and create your own learning toolbox that will be useful for you. The sixth habit is use technology to your advantage. Use technology, but the technology should be for your advantage. It should not be for your disadvantage. In fact, whatever now you are using, the technology, online learning, e-learning, digital learning, all this we have to convert this for our advantage. In fact, when you have a smartphone, you can use it for looking only or spending your entire time in laziness, checking for some entertainment videos or something entertaining, or you can also use that with the entertainment for your learning also. There can be educational entertainment also. Now, how do you utilize the technology for your advantage is again your attitude. The seventh habit is to teach and mentor others. Whatever we learn, sometimes we will not learn only if we learn for ourselves. If we teach it to others, we learn better. In fact, there is a concept by a person called Edgar Dale. Edgar Dale was a person, an educationist and education psychologist, who explained how much we retain. For example, if we read something from a textbook, what is the percentage of retention at the end of 24 hours? If we do something on our own, what is the percentage of retention at the end of 24 hours? And if we teach something to somebody, what would be the retention at the end of 24 hours? What Edgar Dale says is, we can retain 90% of our learning, even beyond 24 hours, if we teach somebody. So teaching is something that you are organizing and explaining to somebody. It becomes very retaining for yourself. And there is one more 7+ habit, which is play. Do not be a kind of bookworm. Do not be somebody who is always sitting with your books. Go out and play, go out and enjoy. This is also important, because if you do not go out and enjoy, you will be laden with something which is totally distrustful for you. You will not feel fresh, you will not feel energetic. If you just go out for a while and come back and sit, then it becomes easier for you to remember. In fact, there is something called as a 20-minute activity, that you study for 20 minutes. At the end of 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break, then come back and study again. This will re-energize your mind to retain things. So these are some of the 7.5 habits of learning, successful learning. What you have to remember is, even a journey of 1,000 miles, begin with a single step. Take the step today. And for a take-home message, I have 3 take-home messages. One thing is, how do you learn successfully is, there was an experiment which was conducted where again 2 groups of students were there. One group of students were given 3 hours to study, read continuously and write the exam. Another group was given the option to, in the same 3 hours, to study for some time, reflect back what they have studied, write a small test or self-test, and again read, again write a self-test, again read, again write a self-test, then come for exam, the final exam. So we have 2 groups here. One group who is continuously studying and writing the exam immediately. One group which is reading or studying, they are reflecting by writing something as a test. Again, they are reading, again they are writing something as a test. Again, they are reading, again writing something as a test. And finally, they come to write the test. So what was seen is that the group which was reading, writing test, reading, again reflecting and writing test, this kind of a cyclical activity they were doing, they were performing exceedingly well. So what you have to do is, you have to learn something, then you test for yourself. Learn again, reflect and test, learn and test. This will consolidate your learning. there's a kind of a physiological reasoning also for this. What happens is when you're reading something and testing, again reading the same thing and testing, again reading the same thing and testing, maybe 2 or 3 times, what happens is the nerves which were involved in your activity, every time you make that effort to learn, those neurons will develop an insulation around them. And what happens is that when the insulation is prepared, there are multiple insulations for multiple attempts. Each insulation stops the wastage of your learning. For example, just imagine something like an electricity which is running through a cable. If the cable is insulated, there will be no loss of electricity and there will be no short circuits also. Similarly, our neurons are like these electricity cables. The more you wrap them around with these layers, the more you could say strong or consolidated your learning will become. So this is how when you repeatedly learn something, you remember, you tend to remember. And it is not just repeatedly learning, reflecting, learning, reflecting on the same thing. So this is one take-home message. The second take-home message is again from the metacognition. You make a schedule and persist with that schedule. Plan and stick on to that plan. So this is the second take-home message. The third take-home message is be thankful for anything that happens to you. Be thankful that you got into a very good course. Be thankful that you got into a very good institution. Be thankful that you have very good teachers. In fact, I can personally vouch for the capacity, for the trustworthiness of the teachers in your institution, KLE College of Pharmacy, Bangalore. In fact, your principal, your teachers, I know everybody personally and I can vouch that there are excellent teachers. So be thankful that you have such excellent teachers. And be thankful that you have caring parents who have helped you to reach to this level and who are taking care of you. And be thankful that you have very good health. You are sitting there and listening to all these things. What happens when you are thankful is that you lose your ego. Once you shed your ego, that is when you grow. And very simple practice of being thankful is what will make you successful. In fact, there are 2 phrases, if you can repeatedly use them or practice them, you can be really successful person. One is, can you help me? If you can ask people, can you help me? If you need help, you request people, can you help me? And then say thank you. And that is where you build the human bond, the human relationships. This is what is most important. You can become a very good, successful professional, but if you do not have somebody to thank, if you do not somebody who can say thank you, then what is the use of such life? Therefore, be thankful for whatever is there. And if there is anything that you want to ask, any questions, I'm there for maybe another 4 or 5 minutes as Dr. Raman permits. So thank you all for this patient hearing. Thank you, Dr. Raman.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative talk. We all are mesmerized, as usual. It was kind of you to accept our invitation and enlighten our new batch of students, sir. Thank you for your time and concern. So children, if you have any questions, please connect and ask.
No, sir.
Did you all enjoy the session?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So then thank Dr. Munir, sir.
Sir.
Please
Thank
thank
you,
Dr.
sir.
Munir,
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Munir, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir.
Informative.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, children.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Munir, sir. Then we'll disconnect because your talk was so very informative and very clear. I really enjoyed it, sir. So have my children. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.